Let's do questions. We have got 30 minutes. Let's do some questions, because even though the questions have all been, there was one I was asked earlier. Let's do that one. It's about the age of Aisha. I'm going to start with this as the first question, and then you can ask whatever ones, So the age of Aisha, there are many ways to do this, and that's why many times there are multiple ways to answer a question, and you can choose the one that you like the most, the one that works for you the best, or you can choose it based on the individual in front of you. So now, if in America now, the age of Aisha, so many arguments. One of them, Aisha radiallahu anha was actually larger for her age. In hot climates, women they reach menses before women in cold climates. And when a woman reaches menses, the body is saying, I'm able to give birth, right? So if she's able to give birth, what will stop her from marriage? The other issue becomes then the mental maturity. So we're going to talk about that. One of the ways now in the West, when someone, if in America someone comes to me and says, why did your Prophet marry a young girl? I don't explain, this is my question to him. How old would you have liked her to be? How old would you have liked her to be? And then he says what? Whatever number he gives me, I question that number. 18. Why 18? Is there any study that says 18 is the best age for marriage? No. Biology that says 18 is, no. Psychology, anything, any research that says 18 is the best number? No. Okay, then 17. I ask the same questions about 17. If he says 16, same questions. 15, same questions. Who determines the age? Now, today, none of us, even asked all the men in the room, none of us here would like to marry a 12-year-old. True or false? Because today they're children. They're children, and they're still in school, and there's a system now. They have to go through a schooling system for many years just so they can learn the world that they're living in. But let's say right now, there's, let's say, a Bedouin group or let's say a tribe that's very primitive that lives in the deep, deep forests. And all the skills you need, let's say, as a male, is how to hunt and clean that animal and bring it home and build a house. There are no other skills in that society. Maybe build some weapons. So if a boy by the age of 15 learned all these skills, all right, and let's say the skills for the woman in that tribe are to know how to clean the hut, clean the food and cook it, all right, and that's it. These are all the skills in that society. So now they've reached, and she's now as knowledgeable at age 13 as any old woman who's 80 in the tribe. They have the same skills. They don't have credit cards and these complex systems that they need to learn for years. So now if this 15-year-old boy who's now reached the epitome of knowledge and maturity in his village, yeah, and this girl is 13, want to get married, what's the problem? What's the problem? He's able to have a home within this simple. Today, if a 15 or 13-year-old want to get married today, he's still going through school. How is he going to work? And he's still immature. But in that society, what's wrong with it? So now this 15-year-old is going to marry a 13-year-old. Imagine the day of the wedding, a white guy comes up and he interrupts the wedding. No, we're not going to have any of this, okay? He's 15 and she's 13. This is not acceptable in America. You know what they're going to say? Let's eat him. Who are you? Who are you? So basically, the whole thing of why did your Prophet marry a young woman? So okay. Realistically, it's like saying, what do you care? This was 1,400 plus years ago in a society where it was acceptable because they didn't have what we have today, where the school system, where this person's a child. A 12-year-old now is a baby. She's still playing with dolls. You marry a 12-year-old and she wants toys and she wants gum and candy and she's crying in the market like, we're buying potatoes. No, I want candy. You don't want to marry it because we have a system that's different. The world's different. But back then it was acceptable. Even Aisha radiallahu anha was spoken for before the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah? So that means then all that is happening is that the person is being ethnocentric. Ethnocentrism is when we think our culture is the best and it's superior. It's inherently superior to every other culture. And this happens all the time. Yeah? If you're sitting in here right now and you have an Indian background, you know Indian culture is the best. Yeah? And if you're Malay, You know Malays are the best, right? Malays are the best, right? Better. And if you're Chinese, like, no, Chinese culture is the best. And if you're Arab, you're sitting here like all these brothers and sisters, they're foolish. We are the best. Everybody thinks their way, their culture is the best. So what happens is, nations, every nation typically does that. It's called ethnocentrism. Yeah? Which is the right way to drive the car? What is to drive on the road? The left side or the right side of the road? What do you think? The right side of the road? So, okay, so to have the steering wheel on the right, let's make the car. The steering wheel should be on the right side of the car or the left side of the car? What do you think? The right side? Why? Why is the right side better than the left? Because it's right? Yeah? So it should be on the right side because that's right. Yeah? Why should it be on the right side? Give me a good argument. Yes, sir.
There's a study they did at Ford that found out that the ideal place is in the middle. That's the safest place for the driver.
The ideal place is in the middle. It's the safest place for the driver. That's why I always tell people, you know, there's a car called the McLaren F1. It costs like $1.4 million, and it's like in the seat is in the middle. That's the best car. If you can't afford a McLaren, what kind of loser are you? All right? Right? So which is better, the right side or the left side to put the steering wheel? Yeah? Sunnah is right, yeah? So that's why all these countries, they chose it based on the Sunnah, right? Yeah? Yeah? Then what happens? People in America argue it's the left side, yeah? And if you guys, when you guys go to countries where it's on the left, when you probably get in the car, it looks ugly to you, true? And I'll be honest with you, when I get into cars on the right side, I look at it and look, it's weird. It's like this is steering wheel here. This guy's with his left hand moving. We're the right hand, ya akhi, huh? Yeah. Realistically, I'm not right and you're not right. There is no right and wrong. The brothers in the UK tried to argue with me, and then they said more countries drive on the right side than the steering wheel on the right. And then they went to Wikipedia and they found just a few. Just a few. But then they tried to add more. Well, there's 1 billion people in India. That's your argument? There's a very nice photograph I just found 2 weeks ago. Very nice photograph. The first day Sweden switched from left hand to right hand. Yeah? Right hand to left. I need the steering wheel. The first day they switched, the first morning when they made the switch, and someone took a picture of the road, this fantastic black and white photo, and cars were just everywhere on the road. People didn't know how to do it. Yeah? But it's wrong to say there are more countries that drive on the left, therefore driving on the left, meaning steering wheel on the left, is more correct. All it is cultures think their way is the best way. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's why Europe is a continent. I don't know, do they teach you that Europe is a continent here? Or are there 6 or 7 continents in Malaysian schools? 7, yeah? And not all the world teaches that there are 7 continents. You know, some countries teach that there are 6 continents. And I personally am one of those people who don't believe Europe is a continent whatsoever. Europe is just part of Asia. What's Europe? I mean, I can call the region Europe, but I don't believe Europe is a continent. It's just a part of Asia. You tell me, oh, you know, Russia is part in Europe and part in Asia. Why? What makes Europe Europe? I can see South Africa and South America. That's a continent, clear. North America, Africa, I see it. Australia, I see. Europe is just part of Asia. But you know, modern historians who have written about this, they said all it is Eurocentrism. The Europeans thought they were so important that they made this little extension they're on, a continent. Geographically, it's not a continent because Europe is on the same tectonic plate as Asia. India is on its separate tectonic plate. India has more of a right to become a continent. Yeah, not a subcontinent, a continent. Arabia is also on its own tectonic plate. So we can even argue that they could be, but Europe is on the same plate as Asia. So what's Europe? Europeans thought they were so important that they made this little area, which you can take it like this and fit it in just a small part of the, United States. They made it a continent. And that's why Columbus discovered America. Yeah, America wasn't there until Columbus discovered it. It didn't exist until he discovered it. You understand? That's what it means when Columbus discovered it. It didn't exist, even though there were people there who were getting married and divorced and having children and having a life. But it didn't exist until we knew it was there. Until we knew it was there. So that's Eurocentrism. So when someone tells me, why did your prophet marry a young woman? He's saying, my culture is so right that I have the right to go back 1,400 years in time and question an entirely different culture by what my current culture said is a standard. Not long ago, well, now it's getting longer, like 90 years ago, 100 years ago, there were statesmen who would marry 9-year-olds, 11-year-olds. In Virginia, there was an official who married an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old. It was acceptable. So only recent history said, actually, by the way, most states in America, the age to get married is not 18. 18 is when a woman can marry herself off. But most states in America, a 15-year-old can get married as long as the parents sign. 14-year-old, many states in America. 16, 17. So they never said a woman should get married at 18. They said a woman can marry herself off at age 18. But 16-year-olds can get married in America. So there's no sciences, nothing. You just think your culture is so superior that you can question every other culture in the world based on that. You know? And Sheikh Walid can tell you so much about different cultures and how everyone thinks their way is the best. And one of the best things, examples he mentioned in Japan. In Japan, he's saying that at work, if people work at an office, the women make the tea for everyone in the office, not the men. And so a lady, was she Canadian or American, who was critiquing that? A Canadian woman was saying that's so sexist, or why the women make the tea. And it's not sexist. Yeah, you think that because you're thinking in terms of your culture and you think your culture is always right. He said it's courtesy. Like now, if a man and a woman are getting into a car, who will open the door for the other? The man will open, right? And that's courtesy. That's a nice thing to do. And in Japan, the nice thing to do, women make the tea. It's not degrading. But because people make these connections, it's degrading and it's sexist, why the women are slaves, or why they make the tea. I opened the door for you. I didn't feel anything wrong with that. You make the tea, and we're just co-workers. What's the issue? Do you understand? But people just think their way is the best. Al-Muhim. So that's our new answer to this whole issue with Aisha. What age would you like her to be? And whatever age you say, there's no science behind it. This was something that was acceptable in that culture. And then you can cite many marriages of older men to women. Umar ibn Khattab married Kulthum. This when he was older, and she was a young daughter of Ali radiallahu anh, and so many other marriages. What was the issue? And the Quraysh never once said, look, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam marries young women, because they didn't see anything wrong with it. So if there's nothing wrong with it in that culture, what business is it of yours 1,400 years later? Today, no one would do it, because today they're children. But back then, the woman has reached psychosocial maturity and physical maturity. What's the problem? Why would Allah create a woman able to have children at age 13? She's actually, as you know, pregnancy is easier for younger women than older women. The older you get, the more problems. So what's the issue then? Yeah? Anyways, and so on and so forth. So I know that was long-winded, but it's a very important question. And the problem with when nations are ethnocentric, if that nation is a powerful nation, the weaker nations start to see their cultural way as the superior way as well. And that's why, and the minority as well will start to see that. That's why in America you always hear this question: why can't we eat pork in Islam? Why are you asking me just about pork? Here's another good question. Put your hand up and say, why can't we eat dogs in Islam? But no one ever asks you that question in America. You know why? Because Americans don't eat dogs. That's why. If Americans ate dogs, he'd be looking at a dog burger and he would say, why can't we eat dog? But because Americans don't eat dog, he didn't ask that question. So now, if someone says, why can't we eat pork? Say, well, how come you don't ask me, why don't we eat pork? Dog. And why aren't you asking that question? We don't eat dog. There are many things we don't eat. Why are you only asking about pork? Because you live around people who eat pork. So then, why don't I do that? Their way is something, and it seems okay to you now. Anyways, so that is ethnocentrism, and it's the core issue behind the age of Aisha radiallahu anha. And Allah yabarak fiqh.